Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. It's Thursday, February 4th, 2021. We're going to get into some pre-market action here, looking at SAVA real quick. This is the big mover on Alzheimer's research, but I just want to say thank you. The video I put up last afternoon had far and away the most views I've had in the 2 weeks I'm making videos. So I just want to take the time to say thank you to you guys. If you guys got anything for me, your feedback's appreciated. Any comments you guys give, I'll do my best to get back to you. I get pretty busy in the afternoon as I coach high school football, so after practice I'll come back and check them and answer what I can, look at what you guys want me to look at, and anything I can do to help, please let me know. So first we'll look at SAVA. So yesterday you had its huge run continue, closing at 87.95, and then after hours pushed all the way up into the 130s, and then first thing this morning off that 1 a.m. peak where a lot of things have been peaking lately, hits 138, and then we get this huge decline sell-off throughout pre-market right now. And one of the comments I did get yesterday, I mentioned that just on the daily here, so if you look at the bottom right, down in here, I'll tell you the RSI score for it. So yesterday the RSI was at 97.2 on the daily. I can only go to 100, so there's going to be profit taking happening, and that's what's happening right now in pre-market. We got the huge spike up, and now people are just getting out. They're taking their gains and exiting. SAVA was also heavily shorted too, so that could be this high move on low volume, similar to like what GameStop did, right, when it first went from, what was it, the 150s, 160s areas up into the 200s, and the next day opened up over $300, $400 area. So you get this big squeeze after hours on low volume. It can also drop as quickly on low volume. But I also went over, hopefully this transitions here, over to NASDAQ. I went to Yahoo Finance first, but they actually don't have anything for this last year. So if you could go to NASDAQ, type in the ticker, and then go down to SEC filings here, you can get their filings, and their earnings reports are 10Qs. You have to go to the second and third page here. But so this one's actually from May 2020, and then this is the most current one of November. So you just see the difference in the number. These numbers are all rolling. So this in parentheses right here, 1,150. This is in 1,002. So that's that's $1 million bucks, 1.1 million negative, and that's what their 3 months of operating cash loss was. So if you go look at 9 months, you have 3,716. So you divide that by 9, because it's up top says 9 months ended September 30th. So they're burning about $450,000 monthly. So that's about $5.5 million a year. But their total cash equivalent is $24 million. So they have a lot of cash on hand to fund their operations. So they shouldn't need to do any offerings anytime soon. So that is a good sign, especially them being very cash flow positive right now. So they don't need to do financing, and then especially off this this big of a move, they do actually have a lot of. If I scroll down here, where's their compensation? Down here, right here, they do this section about their outstanding options granted. That's for their management team. They do have quite a few outstanding stock options for their board members and employees, which is a good incentive to have, right? So if the company does well, they get rewarded. So that's also a good sign. So I think that they, on paper, are pretty healthy right now, especially with this news on Alzheimer's drugs. They could basically set the price going forward. And so with that, we'll go back to the chart, sink or swim, and then what's running in sympathy with them, AVXL, Anavex Life Science. They also do Alzheimer's research. They got several different drugs in their pipeline, but they also spiked yesterday in after hours in sympathy. They more than doubled their price from yesterday's close in the after hours, and now we can see a bounce here. Looks like they're going to put out their earnings now. That wasn't on the chart 10 minutes ago. So see if that pops up anytime soon. We can take a look at it. But also here, like the RSI on it for the daily was only 87, so not as high. So that could be characteristic of that the bigger move that it got. So we'll see, and then it's still holding this healthy uptrend here on the 22. Let me go back to SAVA real quick because I forgot to mention something. But so we get this, the dots I have on my chart, so all my charts are the same, but all the dots are a Keltner channel, so you kind of look for it to reverse directions around those. So each one, they have a different period. So here we kind of got some resistance in the 90s. If you look at 30-minute chart, you can kind of see it better. But so if this kept dropping, my cut area for look for like the last resort bounce would have been here in the 80s from all this volume from yesterday. But it looks like we're going to hold the last candle of the final 30 minutes yesterday from the high volume candle of that 90. So we'll push into here, this area 103, see if we can break that pre-market, and then if we take off like a rocket like we did yesterday on the bell, we could retest that 138 area potentially on high volume. So AVXL, kind of same thing, pre-market is coming back up. It's probably going to put out some earnings, see if it has good numbers, it could potentially cause it to further run or crash, right? They work both ways, so we'll see what happens there. CPSH, CPS Tech with their aircraft armor news, kind of similar to a lesser degree in the after hours yesterday. Got a run up, peaked in the morning, and now we're kind of selling off. So we'll look to find some resistance levels here around the $16 area. Last resort, this 5-200 moving average is kind of sitting right there perfectly right now. Could pull back into that after the open. So we'll look to see what happens there. I mentioned Fubo yesterday about maybe putting out some PR before the Super Bowl. I haven't seen any PR, but the price has moved higher up to this $51 range. So if you look at the daily, that gets us above the red candle of yesterday. So if it opens there, we might sell off, and if it comes back and touches that 51 again, I'll probably look to go long, see if it can make that buck up to 52.4 if it has momentum going higher. And then another play I mentioned from yesterday, Virgin Galactic Space SPCE, right? Kind of similar. It's up in the 58.25. Kind of want to see it cross this 58.35 and see if we can take out that high 59.43. It's been up in the 62s pre-market, but those don't show up on a daily chart because it doesn't calculate pre-market. And then another mover from yesterday, Lizhi LIZI, also spiked this morning in pre-market. It's actually down after hours yesterday, but we get this little spike. They put out some news this morning. They're like a communications service company. So the news that came out at 3:16, they collaborated with Pop Mart to create the first branded podcast on Lizhi Podcasts. So apparently they're going to make a service platform for podcasts. Whether or not that news is truly great, the market ate it up, sent it higher on that little puff piece, I guess. But so we get that spike at 4 a.m. when a lot of retail investors are allowed to get in, spikes it higher, and now we're selling off, right? This pretty steady downtrend. Big drop again at 6 o'clock when Robinhood traders are allowed to get into market. So let's see, I'd probably expect us to curl back up into like this $11 areas and maybe roll over, probably drop below this 9 here on the 15. So we'll look for that to happen. And then a couple other movers today. Pre-market. Apps, higher price up in the 70s. They had earnings, and then they had a price increase, price target increase up to, I believe it was 85. B. Riley, yeah, 77 to 85 on a buy rating. So some of these, you'll see different things on earnings. Like they'll get a good pop, they'll stay sideways in after hours, and then as soon as they open up, they just steady uptrend. So that could be something to look at. If you look at the daily here, we're well above the high that was put in on the 25th. If we zoom out long term, right? So we're steady uptrending here. So it wouldn't be surprising to see this thing keep running higher today off its earnings. And then We got two more here. MNKD, Mannkind Corporation. It popped yesterday after hours. Had a steady run up too yesterday. Kind of good chart here, long term. Did a move higher, 4.2s, pulls back, kind of weighs in the moving average, and then it gets tightened up here, and the volume drops again. Volume drops as it gets into the 9, starts to curl higher. Gap up yesterday, takes off. A big move after hours, as you can see here on the 15 and the 5, and then kind of similar, rolling over, selling off. So as this pulls back into here, still going to look for yesterday's high where you got a lot of volume here in the low 5s. See if we can get a bounce there. And then the last one is GEVO. I don't think they have any news out on it, but I was asked to look at it. In the past, I would say this would have been a big pump and dump play. So if you look at their chart from 3 years, oh, I gotta adjust that real quick because it's sitting on that moving average. Okay, so this was back in 2018. I remember when this day happened. I was actually at a football camp at Boise State, and they sleeping in their dorms. They had a really bad Wi-Fi, but I remember it going from like $7 up to that $21, and I was in on it, and I didn't have good Wi-Fi, so I had to run across the street to Starbucks through their parking lot by their stadium in order to get out. But they had that big pump, and then it's just sold off. And as you can see, they reverse split, and the stock stayed low. But so just here in the weekly, we've been crawling off this steady uptrend now for about 2 months, sitting in this $12 range. So on this weekly, as you can see, these two candles right here, 10 cents difference between their lows, which is kind of a good sign when you look at the daily, because you'll see the dailies actually, the low came on Friday and the low came on this Monday. And if you look at the candle, right, it didn't like the low at all, so it sold off hard. So you get the big wick. It's now we're moving higher, and then we get this big engulfing bar off of this other up red bar on Tuesday, and then right now pre-market's up at 12.7, so we're above that bar. So we could look at to make a move up to the 14s here today and tomorrow potentially, and maybe go take out that high. So that'll be something to look at. I'll be watching as this thing can move and has moved in the past. So that's all I got this morning for pre-market. We'll see you later. Thank you.